Hi, I'm Shannon Watkins, Research Associate with the James G. Martin Center for Academic Renewal. I am interviewing the new president of the North Carolina Community College System, Dr. Jeff Cox. Before starting this new role, President Cox served as president of Wilkes Community College since 2014. He also led Allegheny County Schools as superintendent from 2005 to 2014. And since 2022, he has served as head of the North Carolina Community College Presidents Association. With all his experience in education, President Cox brings 3 decades of experience to this new position. President Cox, thank you very much for speaking with me today.
Thank you very much for having me. It's my pleasure to be with you.
Great. So to get started, what are your top priorities for your first year in this new role? And how do you think your experience as a community college president and as a superintendent will inform your new role?
Great. It's a good question to get us started. So I think the first order of business for us, we've had a fair amount of turnover here in the senior leadership role at the system office, both with the president's role, but also the senior leadership team. And the first order of business here for the first couple of months has really been and will continue to be building back up our senior leadership team. With some high quality individuals who bring a wealth of experience and knowledge into these roles. So we're hard at work on doing that work. Have filled 3 out of 4 really high level positions already, and have one more that we hope to take a name to the board next week. So that'll kind of wrap up having our senior team all back together again and ready to move forward. Beyond that, the board, the state board, and I have been collaborating right from the beginning when I started June 1 up until now here, about 6 weeks or so later, on developing some goals for the next year and really just kind of set the path for the next 3 years. But the top item that's on everybody's mind is on meeting our state's emerging workforce needs. Our state's been declared by different entities as the #1 state in the country for business. We were last year. We just received word this week that we've been named that again this year. And that's a fantastic accolade for our state. But we believe strongly that if we don't become the #1 state in the country for the workforce talent pipeline, that we're going to have a hard time staying #1 in the state for business. All these businesses and industries that are expanding their operations, setting up shop here in North Carolina, are bringing thousands and thousands of jobs. And almost all these jobs require some sort of post-secondary credential. Most of them are not 4-year degrees or master's degrees or higher level degrees. But almost all of them require some sort of post-secondary degree. This is the heart of what the community colleges do across our great state. We're in every community across the state. We're within a 30-minute drive to any potential student, but also to every potential business or industry looking for a partner on helping them meet their workforce talent pipeline. So that's kind of job one, is what do we have to do to really make sure that for the business and industry that we're meeting their needs and supplying them with the workers that they're going to need to do the high skill work that they need to have done. And then for our prospective students, we think about all the people across our great state who are symbolic of our student population, in that they may be first generation college students. They may not have had any background with higher education. Many of them are living with economic challenges. So we're wanting to provide those individuals with opportunities to have access to higher education and to these jobs that pay a living wage. So a lot of that can be done through very short-term credential programs, which I know we're going to get into more as we go along. But that is really the top priority, I think, going forward. And then all the things that entails. The one of which I would just note would be taking a fresh look at our how our community colleges are funded, and really looking at what parts of that funding formula are serving us well, and what parts of it are maybe making it more challenging for us to be as nimble and flexible as we need to be, and as well-resourced as we need to be to meet the needs of business and industry and our whole population of students that we serve.
Thank you. We've seen that measuring student success in terms of graduation rates doesn't provide the full picture of what community college has to offer. What's a better way to measure the success of North Carolina's community colleges?
Yeah, that is a complicated question for sure. I think a lot of times it's hard to put into a specific metric, but I think in terms of often, thinking about what does the individual student want when he or she comes to the community college. For some of them, it's to complete a full 2-year associate degree, within 2 or 3 years, and graduate and go on to either to work or transfer to university. For others, it may be coming to the community college just to get a particular class before transitioning on to a university, or maybe just coming and doing a very short, picking up a workforce credential or skill and going out and getting a better job. So thinking about tying our success to the success of our individual students is something that we're trying to think through and think how to measure that effectively. Our performance measures don't always capture all the nuances of what we do. And a student who comes to one of our community colleges, stays for a semester, picks up a welding credential, but then drops out before he officially finishes the diploma and goes to work somewhere making $20 an hour as a welder, is that a success or a failure? Well, if you ask the student, it's a success. He's gotten a skill, and now he's out making $20 an hour instead of $10 an hour that he was making at Burger King before. So, what how we measure success depends on the value for students, I think. But one item specifically we're looking at and trying to think more creatively about is how do we capture about half of our students are on the college transfer pathway, planning to get 2-year degrees and transfer on to a 4-year university. But really a little more than half are more tuned into the workforce side of our operation. And for many of those, it may be a short-term credential that they're trying to achieve. And so the graduation rates don't even really reflect all those workforce students. So we're looking at a mechanism on how can we at least keep a count of how many credentials of value we're awarding that have some meaning out in business and industry. So that's one additional measure we're looking at to see how can we capture all the good work we're doing with getting students credentials they need to go out and earn a living wage.
That'd be great. I would definitely love to see that data in the future.
Yeah.
Enrollments have been impacted everywhere at many colleges due to the pandemic, and the pool of college students is expected to dramatically shrink due to the decline in college-age students. How does the system plan to respond to these challenges? Are there any plans to consolidate under-enrolled colleges?
That's a question that we hear, of course, periodically. And, COVID has been tough with enrollment. So we obviously had precipitous decline during the height of the COVID pandemic. We are back on the incline with enrollments growing again, but there are some challenges with the overall school age population and particularly in some of our rural communities, a decline in that school age population. So we're forecasting that, looking ahead to that. But also there are opportunities, though, And I think particularly in some of these short-term credential programs, a lot of this growth and expansion in business in North Carolina, the degrees that are required are not necessarily going to be those higher level degrees, but more short-term credentials. So we've got a significant part of our high school age population across the state that is not going anywhere after high school. So across different communities, that number varies from probably in the high 20% to over 50% of the high school population when they graduate just aren't pursuing any kind of post-secondary credential. If you look at that target population and think how many of those students are going to be able to go get great jobs, paying high salaries without any kind of education beyond high school, it's a small number. The vast majority, the key to prosperity is education. So even though the overall high school population, the number of graduating seniors may be shrinking, there's a huge population of students who we're not yet serving, who I think are our target demographic. We have to figure out a way to get connected with that 30 or 40 or 50% of high school seniors who are graduating and not going anywhere to college. We have programs for them, some of them very short-term programs, just in a few weeks or months, we can get them a credential that allow them to go out and make a living wage. So we have to do a better job of marketing to those students and helping them and their parents understand higher education is attainable. It is accessible through our community college system. We've got a college somewhere within 30 minutes of where they live, and we can get them a certificate or credential that's going to have value for them in the labor market if they'll just come and attend. So that is definitely part of the equation. The other part of our focus is shifting our focus a little bit more strongly on adult learners. We have a lot of adults who are out in the economy, working jobs, many of them underemployed in jobs that are not paying a living wage yet. That adult population, we're being more and more creative about how we connect with them in a way that they can still work, come back to us part-time and earn those credentials that are going to allow them to have a better salary and be able to better support their families.
Great.
Yeah, I would just note that the John M. Belk Endowment has been very supportive of our community college system in launching this NC Reconnect. That's the whole effort, is reaching out to those adult learners, specifically who may have started with the community college system, taken some classes, but then stopped out and never completed the degree or credential. Inviting those students back to say, we're going to work with you, get you back in and help you complete that credential so you can go out and make a good living.
Good, thank you. Mm-hmm. Community colleges play an important role in workforce development, as you've mentioned. Are there any plans to expand apprenticeship opportunities and improve career and technical education?
Yes, absolutely. Those are key areas for us as well. The General Assembly has awarded some state apprenticeship expansion funds for us, designed to really help us expand apprenticeships across the state, specifically targeting small to medium-sized businesses in rural North Carolina. We're looking at developing apprenticeship programs that generate more high-demand occupations like healthcare, education, IT, advanced manufacturing, and more. There are some added incentives within that funding stream for apprenticeship sponsors to use our local community colleges to provide related instruction and technical education. So while the students are there doing their internship or apprenticeship rather, working, they're also, of course, taking classes through the local community college. So we are working to expand those programs. Specifically, we're trying to do a better job of attracting more females and minorities into our registered apprenticeship programs. We don't have enough diversity of either gender or race really within those programs. So there's both of those we think are real target opportunities for us to expand what we're doing there.
Tell us a little bit about industry credentials that you mentioned earlier. What's the community college's relationship like with the industries that are part of this credentialing system?
Absolutely. This is really one of the strengths of our community college system. We think about all 58 community colleges that are really anchored in those communities across the state. They work hand in hand with the industry to, number one, make sure that we understand what are the credentials that the industries and businesses value, and then once we know what credentials they value, work with them to make sure we're providing the talent pipeline that they need. So sometimes that's working with students even while they're still in high school. I think we're going to get into that in a minute, but it could be even with their own employees. So sometimes they're doing training with their workers that are already there. But we do work with the business and industry, from everybody from high school students to the incumbent workforce across the board. So with our apprentice program, though, the apprentices complete registered apprenticeship program are all going to receive at least 2 credentials. The first is from North Carolina, the state of North Carolina. That's the North Carolina State Apprenticeship Certificate. And then the second comes from the U.S. Department of Labor, and this is the Journey Worker credential that's recognized in all 50 states. So it gives these students credentials that they can actually use and go out into different companies and have something that they can demonstrate that they've completed that program.
Excellent. Some students start technical training or their academic studies while in high school through the career and technical education or career in college promise pathways. What do you think is the future of dual enrollment?
Yeah, this is an area that's really expanded over the last several years. And of course, with my background in K-12, it's near and dear to my heart. I've just seen countless examples of students who didn't think they were, quote, college material, who just thought college is not really in the cards for me, who end up taking a dual enrollment class with a college while they're in high school, and then they find out, oh wow, I actually can do this work, and they get a couple of credits, and then they decide, well, I'm now 5 or 6 credits in here to some sort of degree or certificate or credential. Maybe I will go to college. So I've seen that happen many times, and I think we're doing a better job now than we did 10 years ago with helping students not just earn college credits, but be intentional about that, so that the credits that the students are earning are pointed towards some kind of credential or degree. And they're not what I used to refer to as random acts of college. You just go in and take a class here or there, and you end up with a hodgepodge of different things that don't really point toward any specific degree or credential. So we've really streamlined things over the last 6 or 8 years, and are doing a lot better job of making sure when students in high school are taking college courses, they're on a pathway that leads to some specific degree or credential. So I see that program continuing. It works dynamically with the goal that my future NC has established, and that our whole state has kind of agreed upon, to have 2 million folks by 2030 with those post-secondary credentials of value. If students can start earning the beginning of those, and sometimes can even earn the whole credential before they graduate high school, that gives us a real leg up on that work.
The Comprehensive Articulation Agreement, which facilitates credit transfer between NC community colleges and the public universities, has existed for a while now. Is there any work left to be done to ensure seamless transfer?
Yeah, I think there is. I've had a meeting already with the K-12 superintendent, State Superintendent Truitt, and I've got a meeting coming up with President Hans soon, as well as Hope Triplett with her independent colleges. I'd love, and I'm going to challenge my three colleagues for the four of us to set up some routine meetings over the next year to have this very conversation. We're doing a lot of good work. We've done a lot of good work to streamline and create this articulation. The articulation agreement we have in place currently is strong, but there are definitely places we can strengthen. I'll just give you a quick example of this. So when people think of our articulation agreement, I think a lot of the general public have in mind that means you go 2 years to the community college and get your general education, and then go 2 more years and complete your degree at the university. And unfortunately, that's rarely the way that it actually works. First of all, on the community college side, a lot of students end up needing to take more than 2 years to complete those 2 years of the associate degree, because maybe they were not quite prepared as they needed to be to take their English credit courses right away, or their math credit courses right away. So it may take 3 years to complete the first 2. And then unless the student knew when they started the community college exactly what they wanted to major in at the university, and which university they wanted to attend when they completed at the community college, then the courses they've taken may or may not line up exactly with the major that they're going to take at the university. So you take a nursing student, for example, a student who goes through our program and completes the 2-year nursing degree with us. If they're going to transition that over to a university, the different universities may have slightly different prerequisites that they would want their nursing baccalaureate students to have. And if the students didn't take those specific courses back at their community college, then they're going to have some more electives that they're going to have to take at the university. So often what we think about as a 2+2 agreement ends up being a 2+3 agreement, or a 3+3 agreement. And that creates a barrier to success for our students. So I think there's some work we can definitely do to help streamline things and make it even more effective, so that if you're a high school student or a dually enrolled student or even a community college student, that you don't have to know as soon as you begin what you're going to major in at the university and which university you're going to attend in order to have a chance of being able to complete within 2 years once you get to that university. So there's all kinds of complications that come in with this, with SACS accreditation issues at the university, with, program autonomy. If I'm a business school at a university and I want all of our business students to take this course at our university, we don't want to accept in a transfer credit. Should they have the autonomy to do that or not? Well, everyone has a different point of view about that, but I try to look at it through the student lens, and I just want it to be the pathway to be as seamless and smooth for our students as it can be, so we can graduate as many of them as we can with as little college debt as we can manage.
Good, thank you. How does the system plan on keeping up with changes in the labor market? Do you think there are any programs that should be dropped or added?
Well, again, this is one of the real values of having the system we have in place in North Carolina is sort of a decentralized model. We've got our system office and we provide support, for the great 58 local colleges, but there's a fair amount of autonomy for the 58 individual community colleges to base their programs on what the needs are in their specific regions. I'll give you as an example where I was at Wilkes Community College. We realized over time that the demand for our massage therapy program was beginning to wane. We had effectively graduated enough students that there wasn't really a market for our graduates anymore. There were several massage therapy clinics in town, and they were all staffed, so there really wasn't any place for our students to go. So eventually we made the decision to terminate that program just because we just didn't have the need. There wasn't any demand anywhere in North Carolina for massage therapists, but in Wilkes County and Wilkes, Ashe, and Allegheny, our market was kind of covered. We didn't need to continue to offer that program, so we closed it down. At the same time, across any community in North Carolina, a brand new business could emerge and be creative, whatever kind of product that hadn't been done there in that community before. There hadn't been a need for a program to serve that particular business or industry. Our community colleges have the flexibility to stand up a program, particularly a short-term credential program, just on a dime, just without almost very little notice. They can be flexible and add a program as they need to. It's a little more complicated with curriculum programs. They take a little more planning and coordination, but I think community by community, when you look across the Great 58, I doubt there's a single year that goes by that there's not a program added and programs added and programs dropped across the different colleges. And it's different for every community.
Oh, that's really interesting. The academic quality of community colleges in North Carolina is varied. And we hear it from admissions offices and people at UNC who see transfers coming in and say, some of these students are great. They graduate at higher rates than our own students, but some of them have a long way to go to really be ready. What are plans to improve academic quality so that it can be the best of what the community college system offers?
Yeah, I think part of this gets to the core difference between the university system and our community college system. The community colleges are really designed to develop talent. We're an open access institution, across the 58. Some elite universities brag about their very low acceptance rate. They're proud that they only take the top 7 or 8% of applicants. We brag that we take the top 100% of our applicants. If you apply, you get in. We take you from where you are and help you to try to get to where you want to go with your own educational and career pathway. So what I would say, I would challenge the assumption of the question just a little bit to say that in my opinion, if our students are making it through and completing those associate degrees, I think the data is pretty clear that overall they do as well or better than native students going straight to the university. So I think sometimes our friends at the university get their native students who may be struggling some conflated with our transfer students who generally do pretty well. I'm sure there are cases where students have graduated and gone on and had struggles academically, but I think by and large, one of the services that we provide to the universities is taking that whole big group of students who come to us with all kinds of varied backgrounds, from being folks who dropped out of high school 25 years ago and now have figured out they want to come back and get their high school equivalency and go to college, to the very top level, brightest high school graduates who are going to come breeze through our community college and end up going on to Harvard one day. We truly see that whole broad range of students. But one of the services that we provide for the universities is we work with those students and help them become better students, so that if they complete that associate degree, there's a high likelihood of success for them when they transfer on to the university. If we can figure out the non-academic barriers that are in the way of our students, particularly around economics, and how just to make it affordable for them to go on and thrive at the university, the academics usually fall into place pretty well.
Thank you. Is there anything else that you would like to share with our readers and viewers?
I think the only other thing I want to share is, we're going through a whole process here over the next year with the new administration here that I have, and working with the state board to really listen to all of our different stakeholder groups, business, industry, our education partners, our 58 individual institutions out there across the state, to really step back and reimagine, where do we want to be in 10 years? What changes do we want to see happen to our community college system over the next 10 years? And then what do we, how do we get there? If we want to be the number one workforce provider in the country, to match up with being the number one state in the country for business, what does that look like? What does it take to be able to produce the very best, most talented workforce in the country? And then from that, kind of back into thinking about our funding formula and how we're funded, and how is that preparing us to be as agile as we can to meet the needs of all of our citizens and all of our business and industry. So that's what we're looking forward to doing going forward. But I appreciate you taking the opportunity to talk with me here today.
No, thank you. Thank you very much, President Cox, for your words. It was very, very interesting to learn your plans and your vision for the community college going forward. Thank you so much for your time.